Catherine. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Administration Committee of our Council. My name is Councillor Corben and I will chair the committee this evening. Some housekeeping before we begin. We're not expecting the fire alarm to sound this evening. If it does, please leave the building through fire exits. Officers, I'm told, will direct us. Not lost. We should be safe. The meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the council's website. If any members of the public prefer not to be recorded, then do please contact the members. If you are planning on filming or recording the meeting, then please do let us know so that we can ensure you are not filming members of the public that do not wish to be filmed. The chair reserves the right to ask any filming considered intrusive to be stopped. More information is available on the council's website. Councillors will be using tablet devices and possibly phones to access the agenda for the evening. We do have a speaker registered and for a later item, so we always welcome people to speak at our meeting. Although this is a formal meeting of the Administration Committee and not a public meeting, any members of the public that have registered to speak will be invited to speak at the relevant agenda item and will be given a total of 3 minutes to speak. I'll just clarify now, Steve, I know you've asked for an extra minute and a half to speak. And I'm happy to grant that simply because we've got supporters as well in the discussion, so that feels right to.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
To do. People wishing to speak on an item on the agenda are able to do so before the debate starts. Once the debate has started, however, it is not possible to invite or receive comments from a well-trodden path that we will understand. So, to begin the meeting, item one, apologies.
We do, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Park-Jones.
Thank you very much. Those are noted. We now move on to public participation. I've got nobody registered to speak in this section, so we'll move on to declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest they wish to make? If so, please indicate now, and when called, please state the nature and reason for the interest. You can, of course, declare any interest as they're referred to you during the meeting. Any interest wish to declare, please. Good, none recorded. Indeed, we move on to item 4, pages 5 and 6 on the agenda. And we move on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of June 2023. I need to approve these as a true record, please. And can I ask for a proposer and a seconder? Gosh, I saw Steve first, and because of my eyesight, I saw Derek second. But thank you. So, proposed and seconded. Can I ask if we all agree to those? Yes, I'm saying. Good. That's clearly passed. Thank you. Indeed, we'll move on to item 5. Polling places and polling station review. 2023, pages 7 to 18 of the pack. Sam, can I ask you please just present your report, Sam Jones?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, councillors. I'm asking for the committee's approval to make changes to some polling stations for the future elections, and the report lists the changes that we are proposing on behalf of the returning officer. Does everybody have a chance to have a look? I've circulated them.
Assume they have been read,
yes.
Diligent.
Yes, so is everybody happy with the proposed changes? These will be implemented for the next scheduled election on the 2nd of May and any other elections that may be snap elections that we don't know of yet.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam. Can I open up to councillor questions, please, just at this stage? So we're not in debate, these are questions to Sam. Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Just one question, really. Are all these changes disabled friendly?
Yes, the new venues, I've been out and done some site visits, and they're all disabled access. So I think we are very fortunate actually in this borough that all our venues are either accessible for the disabled, and they also, ones that have more issues, we actually have ramps, some specialised ramps provided. So yeah, we're happy because I know other areas have difficulties with porta cabins and things, so we are very lucky. But yeah, the venues are all spot on.
None of them are in by war, so that's why I asked.
Yes, yeah, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? Councillor Duguid.
Yeah, the one moving into St Peter's Church, is that actually into the main body of the church? And are we happy generally as a rule to have in religious bodies polling stations?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Well, it is going to be in the main hall. The proposal is to trial it and see how we get on for this one. I mean, we had a few comments from members of the public sort of supporting it. So we're going to sort of, the proposal is to trial it, see how we get on, and revisit it and see if it works. But regarding your question about houses of worship, etc., we have got a number of other polling stations that we've used for many years, and we don't have any issues with that. I think a long time ago we probably had a few people when we first started using them that may have felt uncomfortable going into a church, but that doesn't seem to be an issue now. So we are, you know, it's difficult to always find suitable venues. So speaking from experience, we haven't had any issues with that.
Thank you, Sam. Any other questions? Sam. Good. So do we wish to start a debate? Is there anything that we wish to say?
I'm just happy to propose the recommendations that are here. It's a fairly straightforward review. They're always confusing thrown up, and so the vision proposed to be modified in response, which is exactly what should happen. So very happy with the recommendations.
Thank you very much, Councillor House. So we have seven recommendations to the committee this evening. Councillor House has proposed. Can I have a second? Councillor Gritty, thank you very much indeed. Is there any further debate? Members? Good, we'll go straight to the vote. All of those in favour, please. Thank you very much. That is unanimous. And good. So nothing against, no abstentions. Thank you,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve.
Yes. Second to leave the room. So now we're moving on to item 6 on our agendas, the removal of BTEC qualification requirements for all licensed hackney carriage and private hire drivers, pages 19 to 36 for those following along on our agenda pack. I'm going to ask Andy Jeffries to present the report and introduce the paper, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors. Well, the report is to recommend that the Administration Committee approve the removal of condition 1.9 of the private hire driver policy and 1.8 of the hackney carriage driver policy, which requires all drivers to enrol and complete a BTEC qualification in transporting passengers by taxi and private hire vehicles. The removal of this condition is due to the lack of course providers and outdated course content. So at the moment, every applicant that comes in, we provide them with a list of all the colleges that run the course. Prior to the licence being granted, the applicant must demonstrate that they have enrolled onto the BTEC course. They have 1 year to complete the BTEC course. The course is aimed to give the driver a good understanding of the standard required as a role in customer service and passengers who require assistance routes and fares, transporting of parcels, luggage and other items, including transporting of children. The licensing team has been contacted recently by local colleges to inform us that they are no longer running the BTEC course. This is causing an issue with applicants providing proof of enrolment, and drivers are increasingly finding they are unable to complete the course within 1 year of their first licence. For some time, the course is needed to be updated, with no sign of this occurring. The value of the course has diminished considerably. The DFT statutory guidance points authorities towards more sufficient specific training, such as safeguarding, which we already do, and the course is costing each driver around £250. So the removal of this out-of-date course would be a saving to all the drivers. So it is recommended that the committee approves the removal of the requirement for the mandatory BTEC qualification due to the lack of course providers and that the course is now outdated.
Thank you very much. I've got no one registered to speak on this subject, so we'll now open up to councillor questions, please. Sorry, James. Councillor Christopher.
Andy, thank you very much. Over the years, I've sat on the transport forum so long, and I've heard conversations and debate over maintaining standards, so on and so forth. Will this reduce the standards that our drivers are expected to achieve? And how are we going to impart to them the level to which we expect them to achieve in due course? You know, will we be giving them a handbook that they have to read and go through? I know if there's no course being provided, it's difficult, but we have strived over many years. When Councillor Airy was here, you know, he was passionate about it. I was passionate about getting, making sure the drivers all were working, maintaining a set standard. Is this going to allow the standard to drop, do you think? Or how do we ensure that we don't see a falling away?
Sure. Part of the course, the BTEC course, is already covered by the safeguarding that we already do. Nikki and I are already looking at disability awareness training, which was also covered by the BTEC, which Blue Land Trust are now running a course for that. So that will cover that bit. And we are actively looking for any courses that we can. English test, maths test, that they're all going to come in as well, which is part of the BTEC. Yeah. So we are actively trying to find new courses.
So you should be able
and more up to date.
Sure, in time we would still have that.
Yeah.
An expectation of the quality. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Duguid.
Yeah, have you been exploring online courses which could be certificated? One of the other areas that I think we mentioned as being pretty important part of the course is customer care, civility, and diffusing situations. All of that is hugely important in this role. Our intent is to get back to having something rather than the vacuum to cover those areas as well, is it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're looking for new courses. Obviously, they're doing it online. We need to ensure it is the actual driver doing this. So, hence why we're going more with the Blue Land Trust, which is local. They do them online still, but they drive us to show ID, photographic ID at the start, and through the course they have to keep the camera on, so that the course provider can tell it's actually the driver that's sitting the course rather than their auntie or uncle or whoever who can pass the course and they probably couldn't. So we are looking at online courses. We need to be a bit careful so that there is safeguarding in place.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. Most of my questions actually have already been asked. Just around the safeguard, these are obviously there is appropriate safeguarding checks in place. Are drivers subject to enhanced checks?
Yeah, they get to the top of there's a tree as well, so we do what's called all the workforce, so it covers evident child and adult workforce. More or less everything is covered by that.
I mean, yes, we're going to debate in a minute, but I'll just.
Sure. Thank you.
Any questions? We'll move on to the debate. Do you think actually we start the debate? How's that?
Yes, thank you. I mean, when I first read this, I thought this isn't good news, obviously, because we want a high standard for our drivers. But if it's a fact that these courses aren't available, and you've spoken about online, which can be an issue and difficult to check, then we really have a problem, because we need drivers. We need to be able to provide that service. And pressure is on them, like every area of the community at the moment, with the state of the economic situation. So as long as we're assured that if government brings in new legislation, we immediately take, it and run with it, then I'm happy with this, because I don't see any choice. Having read it all and listened to it, and I tried to myself. So, there is online, but there are issues attached to that. And it is clearly a problem, and we need the drivers. But there appears to be sections that are already covered.
And we are actively, as I said, looking for English tests. So we have to sit a course on to make sure they meet that standard. We've already got a maths test built into their knowledge test. So we have to extra things in place already, but not covering all of it. We are actively.
Thank you very much indeed. Any further debates?
Just happy to second, and I think it's based on how, understand the rationale. It's a shame, but it's not a shame all at the same time. So, once we go.
Absolutely, and I think the point that Councillor Holt makes is we spoke offline actually, and to make sure that we have a process in place so that we don't just let it sit, because otherwise standards clearly are important, and to at least pick up bits that we're losing through PTEC.
Particularly now we're going to sit the disability awareness course, so we can see what content is in that. Does it cover most of what we've already lost? Hopefully it will.
And share the results with us.
So before we move to the vote, just what about comparators? I mean, are we an outlier in abandoning this course, or are we pretty mainstream, or were we unusual in having this?
I would say Southampton's already in motions of dropping their BTEC qualification. And obviously I know that because we're a partnership.
Sure.
I know New Forest are having same issues in a drivers just can't get a course. So they're just reviewing all their policy conditions now, so I assume they will drop it as well.
And Winchester?
Don't talk so much with Winchester, unfortunately.
I think having sat on the forum for so long, I think most of the delegates, the trade that come along, do show serious commitment to maintain the standards. So I think working with Andy and the representatives, I think we should be covered with this. And I don't think there's anybody that I can think of that would be opposed to maintain the standards. Sure.
Very good. Let's move on to the vote, please. We are proposed and seconded, so all those in favour, please. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, councillors. Move on to the final item on our agenda tonight. Private hire vehicle for signage, pages 37 to 230. Oh, we did read it. Sorry. Thanks a lot for that. Go over to Andy now to present his reports.
Thank you, Chair. So the private hire policy conditions came into force on the 1st of January 2022. Since then, we've been constantly challenged by private hire drivers about the requirements of signage displaying the details of private hire operator on the side of their vehicles. The private hire trade feel the requirement places restrictions on drivers being able to work for one or more operators and reduces their freedom of choice and potentially their earnings. Private hire drivers have been allowed to carry out a home to school job each day for an operator who specialises in such contracts, whilst displaying the signage of the operator they predominantly work for. So those occasions when they're doing the school run, the operator signs don't match because we've allowed them to carry on, do a school run to keep the home to school transport system running, otherwise it would fall over. Appendix 2 of this report, has the best practice guidance in draft form from the DFT, Department for Transport. The updated best practice guidance has been published on the 17th of November 2023, which on the subject of door signage on private hire vehicles says the following. Licensing authorities should not impose a livery requirement on private hire vehicles. The more distinctive a private hire vehicle is made to appear, the greater the chance that it might be confused with a taxi. Licensed authorities' private hire vehicle signage requirements should be limited to the authority license plate or disc and a pre-booked only door sign. This approach enables passengers to be given a clear, consistent message that this should only get into this vehicle that has a taxi sign on the roof, unless it's been pre-booked. The private hire vehicle has received the information from the operator to identify it. The private hire vehicle driver and proprietor are free to work for more than one operator, and licensing conditions or requirements that effectively tie the vehicle or driver into an exclusive relationship with an operator should not be implemented or should be discontinued where these are currently imposed. So at the moment, I've got an example in front of you. So on the front doors of the vehicle, we require the operator details. And then on what we call the rear door or the sliding door where the passengers are getting, we require them to have the Borough Council identity sign. That plate number is unique to that vehicle and that licence and will never change through the life of that licence. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? And there's a permanent sign, isn't it? So that doesn't come on and off every day.
No, it's got to be stuck. It cannot be magnetic. This one here is magnetic, so just as an example. To address the issues of drivers cancelling a job once accepted, when a better or more lucrative job may come along, a new condition for private hire drivers is suggested, which reads: once a hiring has been accepted, the driver shall complete hiring unless there's good cause not to. Any hire that has been accepted but is not completed by the driver must be reported with a reason to the operator immediately. The private hire policy and conditions is also suggested to be amended with a new condition that reads: operators are required to keep a record of bookings that the driver accepts but then cancels, together with the reasons for the cancellation. The operator is to have a policy for reviewing the cancelled jobs, how they will address the incidents of unjustified cancellations with a driver concerned, and report the results of unjustified cancelled jobs to the licensing authority. It is suggested that condition 12 of the private hire operator policy and conditions is also amended from notifications of complaints to incident reporting to include complaints that may bring into question the fitness and propriety of a driver or operator. Condition 12.1 of the private hire operator policy and conditions to be reworded to read: the operator shall record and notify the licensing authority of incidents of complaints that may bring into question of referral. I don't repeat stuff. 12-week consultation has been carried out between 30th of June 2023 until the 30th of September 2023, and the results are attached to this report as Appendix 6, 7, 8 and 9. The consultation is not a vote. The results are being considered. Removal of the condition to display the private hire operator details will allow drivers to be able to work for one or more operators more easily. If there is an issue with private hire operator signage, well, we have an operator licensed in Eastern called one operating name. They're licensed in Southampton and they're called another operating name. And they're licensed also in New Forest and called another operating name. So you could book with the Eastleigh operator, but they could send a New Forest licensed vehicle because it's all one company. They're called different names. So what turns up in front of you is not got the operator name that you booked. That is confusing for the customer for a start. Sorry. So I've analysed all the complaints that we received, and there is a distinctive pattern that when the members of the public make a complaint, they always quote either the 3-digit plate number or the registration number of the vehicle. It's very rare that they actually quote the operating name. So it is, in conclusion, it is recommended that the committee considers the removal of the requirement for private hire vehicles to display the private hire operator door signs. And if that condition for the private hire operator signs is removed, it is recommended the committee consider adding a further condition as set out in the report to the private hire driver and the private hire operator policy and conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Andy. So just to be 100% clear, the recommendations before us this evening. Consider the content of the report, appendices and any comments made to the consultation. Secondly, to consider the removal. Consider the removal of the condition requiring the display of the private hire operator details, and to consider adding the additional driver and operator conditions to safeguard the jobs with no justification, thereby addressing public safety concerns should operator details be removed. So when we talk about removing the operator details, just to be 100% clear, we are not talking at this stage of removing the 456, the plates that will still be required to be on the door, but we are discussing the removal of the trading name on the door. So there will still be the number on the door, and there'll still be the number on the back, just to be 100% clear. Now we have a speaker registered, and we also have 2 representatives, which Joe will lead it on. Initially, we start with objectors to the motion, and we have Steve Lucas, who can introduce himself and speak for 4.5 minutes. And again, Joe,
Right,
Steve.
Evening, councillors. Before I start, I am fully aware of the recent DFT guidance that was released on the 17th of November, and that obviously that isn't in line with the take that we get from the survey we've just had within Eastleigh Borough, and with an awful lot of people who work for many years within Eastleigh Borough. So I wanted to just give you a quick read it here. Let's get on with it. Right. As you're aware, over the summer, Southampton City Licensing, who oversee EPC's licensing functions for taxis and private hires, instigated a 12-week consultation related to operator door signs for EPC private hire vehicles. The consultation was open to taxi and private hire stakeholders and members of the public. The main aim of the consultation was to understand if displaying the operator details on the side of the private hire vehicle was considered a safety feature to the person hiring the vehicle and helping them identify the vehicle that they booked. The results of the consultation are now out, and I believe it is clear from the data of the consultation that in this borough, we are in favour of keeping the door signs for EBC private hire vehicles, considering customer safety and safeguarding, with 58.88% of the votes agreeing and only 37.85% of the votes disagreeing, showing more than 50%. Showing more than 50% of the people voted more to keep signs on the vehicles. Despite these figures, the report is recommended that the administration consider the removal of the display sign for the private hire operator. The report does raise the point that the original reason for the removal of the door signs was to help private hire drivers recover from the pandemic and cost of living crisis by not restricting the vehicle to be able to work for anybody that he wants and any operator at any time. The presence of the signs of the vehicles is not restricting the private hire vehicles from working for multiple operators already in this area, making the statement, in our view, wholly untrue. This point has been reinforced over the last few years by the head of licensing at regular Eastleigh Borough Council taxi forums. That Councillor Pretty was also there as well, where he stated on more than one occasion that SCC and EBC allow private hire drivers to work for more than one operator at any time. The best example, which was done by Mr. Jeffries, is that they can do school runs every day, even though, for example, they are Uber drivers. And they can carry out these school runs, which are known to be very financially lucrative. The report also proposed additional conditions on operators for instance of complaints. Having worked in Eastleigh Borough as a taxi driver for over 25 years, these sorts of incidences were always investigated by Eastleigh Licensing before SC took over the responsibility of this function. It seems very disappointing to me and others that our present licensing team feel the need to add a condition which they should have already been actively in the process of licensing when people are undertaking the jobs. And then last bit, now we all know laws and guidance that are passed are also a reflection of the political parties that are in power at the time. It is also well known that large companies like Addison Lee and Uber have been courting the present Conservative Party with influence and finance for many years. This condition is very much in the situation that they want their drivers to be in. Could this Liberal Democrat elected run council please listen to the residents' overriding vote and hold off removing the door sign condition for 1 year to see if this fundamental change rolls out through the country and there are no adverse effects to customer safety. Please let us do the right thing, listen to the people of Eastleigh Borough and put their safety first, as we always have done. You only have to look at the results. Yes, you only have to look at the results on question 3 in a consultation. Nearly 70% of the responses were from the residents of Eastleigh and its regular users of the private hire and taxi trade. Thank you very much.
Lauren. Thank you very much. This evening. Did you want to come back to any points?
The comments Stephen made about, I assume you mean wasn't very ahead.
Of course I am. You know that, Andy. You never said anything bad about any licensing person in this bar.
We've only allowed a vehicle to do another job that's not from the operator that matches their door sign. The only ones we've allowed is school rooms. Otherwise, the whole homeless transport system would just fall over. So, apart from that, they have to work only for the operator as per the signs on the side of their vehicle. Complaints. If we receive a complaint from the member of the public, then obviously we investigate it. But putting these extra conditions on, we're trying to create a record made by the operator. So there's checks that are being carried out by the operator rather than us waiting for the members of the public to complain to us. We're trying to get the operator to hold some balances and checks on on the complaints. The DFT best practice guidance, which recommends the removal of door signage. Licensing authorities are supposed to adhere to this guidance unless there's good local reason as to why not. Okay.
Thank you very much, Andy. So now over to Joe. We have, as our monitoring officer for Jigsaw, we have two further contributions in favour of the motion that we have tonight.
Yeah.
Joe, can I ask you to read them, please?
Right, the first one, a statement from Jason Corder, that a condition be attached to the operator's vehicle that if you were subcontract for a company that has vehicles that are sign written with operator's name, you must display the signage. This is to include those that the executive exemption applies to: public safety, continuity of identifying the vehicle by the customer. Future customers may get into the wrong car, e.g. radio taxis, biking cars as an example. That no magnetic signs are used at any time by any drivers, whether heavily or private vehicle. The law states that there is no obligation to display identity either on the outside or the inside when the vehicle is under a contract of hire of 24 hours. Therefore, can an exemption be granted to those that do contract work only to be able to exempt themselves from the borough identity sticker only? The law is quite clear. There is no obligation to either inform the council or ask their permission. Legislation makes this quite clear. This could be done by correspondence and would allow the licensing department to keep a register for those that don't display the identification and do work that isn't private hire or taxi or comes under the executive exemption. Owing to the nature of working for any person, the list would need to be sent out stating the suspensions, revocations for drivers and vehicles to all operators on a daily basis. This would enable the operators to know if someone is suspended. Operators only have an obligation to let the council know if we employ someone, not subcontract to another operator or a hackney carriage. Thanks in advance. To each the Administration Committee. Good evening, Officers, Administration Committee and Chair of Licensing. Please accept my sincere apology for not being able to attend the meeting in person. Regarding the subject matter, GMB Union responded to the consultation in detailed form. I'm now writing a short statement to provide further commentary on the issue facing our members. The Committee and Licensing Department should ask itself the following. 1. By displaying the operator's details on vehicles, can the Committee and Licensing Department guarantee that all such vehicles are 100% licensed, EC private hire vehicles? Yes or no? If the answer is no, operator details need to go. 2. Those who sit behind the wheel of vehicles displaying operator details, can the Committee and Licensing Department guarantee these drivers are 100% certain to be holding an EC private hire driver licence? Yes or no? If the answer is no, operator details need to go. 3. If I drive a car that has a Walker's Crisp sticker on the vehicle, can the Committee and Licensing Department tell me, does that automatically mean I work for Walker's Crisp? Yes or no? If the answer is no, operator details need to go. It's clear, operator details are not about public safety, but rather supply control of self-employed drivers without giving them worker status and all the benefits that such status brings. It's about controlling the market and reducing choice for the public by making it difficult for new companies to come through. I ask the Administration Committee to vote on the recommendation and remove operator details condition. To vote to respect drivers' workers' rights and remove current restrictions. To vote to respect competition law. To vote to give consumers choice. Thank you for reading my statement. Kind regards, Holly Haydor, the Southampton Branch Secretary, Chair of GMB National Committee and the National Rep for Taxi and Private Hire.
Thank you very much indeed. Now we'll open this up to Councillors' questions. I've got one to start with, if I may, Andy. When we talk about complaints and the condition that we're adding, so the operator, the responsibility will pass to the operator to advise where a journey was not completed as it should have been. Is there any responsibility on the operator to do that now, or do we wait for the customer to complain or not bother to complain. Just no, I was just wondering, is there a responsibility at the moment? Right, sure. Right, so and we have no grasp of how many of those are slipping through the system. People don't choose not to complain, or they don't know that they should complain to the council.
We do go and check operators' records, so go to the premises and check their records. But obviously, it depends if it says it's been cancelled, how it's been recorded. And that's the most of the time I would say if the customer doesn't complain, you probably don't know.
Second question, and I take the point that Steve said that there may be a political thing going on here, but the Department for Transport, this is important guidance that they've given us on as of Friday. If we were here without that, then we would debate this is slightly different. But the fact that they have come out, and we have no. What's the implication if we do it now? What would we be opening ourselves up to?
With the risk of appeal and judicial review of the decision.
Nikki, just introduce yourself.
Sorry, hello, I'm Nikki Moorhouse, I'm the Youth Department.
Thank you.
City Borough Council. So obviously we have to look at we have to survey and the guidance. Guidance should be considered, and it is a factor in the decision. We have to show good reason not to follow it, good local reason, possibility of being judicially reviewed on that. We're all set out in the guidance regarding restriction or keeping the operator details on that.
Fine, thank you. We'll come on to that in debate, I'm sure, but we're weighing up slightly different things here. Any other questions from colleagues? I saw Derek first. No, I saw Derek first, actually. So there we go. I'll chat.
Yeah, I've sat through lots of sessions where we debated operator signs. I'm assuming that if we remove the need for the operator sign and we just put the registration number, which is stuck on rather than magnetic, that when if I was to ring up and I don't know, from a operator and they say vehicle 457 is going to come and pick you up, that's what I can expect to arrive. Is that correct? Correct. Yeah. And if that doesn't arrive, I can ring you up and say, put a cab on whatever. Different cab came, not happy. That's how we see this all going.
So we would investigate.
Keep it simple like that.
So if 457 should have turned up and 123 turned up, we would investigate. Yeah. On 123, and how did you get that booking? If the operator did give it to them, then obviously we go to the operator. Yeah. If they done that with it, then yes, we pull one.
We get fairly certain confidence that it's a case that if we know that particular company and they've used it in the past, we bring them, they give us a number. That's it.
Okay. Over the last 18 months, we've had the condition trying to keep on top of the operator signage where they chop and change operators, don't always change the signs, but that's unique operator plate number never ever changes. So that is
one more question. That driver with his unique number can then operate multiple operators.
Correct.
And then it maximises. Thank you.
Equally, we've got most operators in the borough are screening. There's not enough drivers, which there is a shortage of licensed drivers. I guess there's still going to be the same amount of drivers, but they'll be spread over to be able to help different operators out. But busy times.
Yeah. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. I'm relatively new to this committee. I've recently done licensing training, so I'm trying to get a grip with the process here. As I understand it, you've got customers, you've got drivers, and you've got operators. So a customer rings an operator and asks for a private hire vehicle to come pick them up
Sure.
And are they, I'm not sure from Derek's question, are they given, as a matter of course, the private hire number of the vehicle that's going to be picking up? Because that seems to be an obvious thing to me. I need to know that as a customer, what driver is coming to pick me up, what number, and then you can relate it, because it is possible to get confused, especially with elderly people who want to know exactly what to expect. So that's one question. Secondly, drivers can work at the moment for one operator. We have a list of operators, I'm assuming. The removal of this would allow them to be available to more than one operator, correct? So take the schools runs out of the equation. This would allow drivers to actually be more competitive, more available, possibly more work for. Is that correct?
Correct, actually, yeah.
Thank you.
Responsible to
The first question, what details the operator sends out does change from operator to operator. It's usually the registration number of the vehicle. I've seen on one app they've used, they said the driver's name, the driver's badge number, the plate number, the colour and make of the vehicle. If that does change between operators, it is usually registration number, plate number, and driver's name on most of them.
I've got one other question. These are before go on. It would seem to me if I was booking a private hire vehicle, the first thing at the moment I would look for is the name of the company that I booked through. If that goes, then you're relying on that number to ensure yourself that you're getting the right vehicle. You mentioned earlier about companies working for through more than one authority, basically this 3 year that you mentioned. Does any vehicle that does pickups in the borough of Eastleigh have to display an Eastleigh number?
Only if they're licensed by Eastleigh Borough Council. Of course, they're licensed anywhere, not where they don't have to just work where they're licensed.
So would this allow an operator to send vehicles from other authorities, registered under other authorities, which makes it even more important that the person on the end of the phone booking knows what they're getting, and not to expect, or they know what to expect. So that seems to me a lot of step. They don't really use taxis like that in my life at the moment, so I don't know how it.
Thank you. I've answered that as we've gone along, so I'm going to come up. Any further questions, please? Councillor Duguid.
Yeah, would this proposal eliminate on a voluntary basis people displaying the information of an operator? I mean, it's marketing, it's advertising to some extent. Is it legally then precluded that they have this identification should they so wish?
If the operator or driver wants to display it, then yeah, we'll allow it, but we're just not going to require it as a condition. Because yes, it's free advertising, really, isn't it? The operator.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, let's move on to debate. Does any councillor wish to start? There's no debate to be had. No, that's all good. Councillor.
Yeah, okay, well, start with a bit of personal view. I always treat guidance as guidance as opposed to legislation. And guidance always makes me think, well, challenge this. We do. So I wouldn't want to slavery for what Department of Transport say, but it clearly is a significant material to be heard. And I think there are massive balance points in both directions. I think the flaw in the argument we just was beginning to tease out from Steve was, of course, if any other neighbouring authority chooses not to require nameplates on doors, then we could get all sorts of private hire vehicles turning up from Winchester or New Forest or Test Valley or Bareham or even Jarvis, say Southampton. And people would have to rely on the number on the door. And so consistency is the argument there. If as soon as one stops doing it, then if you lose the ability to control it, and it therefore has less value. I think there is conflicting evidence here. There's evidence from the survey which points towards saying keep them. But remember, this was not a scientific consultation. It's open to lobbying and balance of views. Sure, can be influenced by the balance of lobbying. So again, consideration, but it's not particularly heavy consideration. If it was 90% in favour or something, then it would weigh more than if it was 50% in favour. So there are those things to think about. On the other side is that the GMB representation. I love Walker's Chris comment to that kind of that resonates really. Don't necessarily expect Gary Walker to get out when you see a bit with Walker's Christmas on it. Interesting it did, but it probably won't be the case. So I think I tend towards the balance of saying that the recommendations here are on balance the right ones. I think if I was a driver, I want my nameplate all over the door because it would be free advertising wherever I happen to be driving. But I think it's tough to require it given the balance levels we've heard. And I stress it is the balance levels we've heard. So I come down just about on balance in favour of the recommendation to remove the requirement that's here. And so just to get the ball rolling, I'll move the recommendations, removing the word consider in each case, because we can't recommend to consider, recommending on 1 to note the contents, and 2 to agree with the removal, and number 3, agree and adding additional driver operating conditions. So I'll move that and just see where the discussion goes.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor House. Any further discussion?
Thanks, Ian. I just want to pick up on something Keith said. It does seem sensible that you have something that equates across the whole area or the whole country, really, where people can identify. And I guess most people now are booking on apps. It'd be really good if there was guidance that when you book, you were given something like either the car registration number or the plate number, and that was common across all operators. That would be much better than having an operator on the door. Is there any sign that is that I have to?
It's not in there at the moment, so we're all saying.
So this is a common conversation that's being had.
Yeah.
So it's something that
We want us to be the same across the country.
Yeah. So I welcome the time when that becomes guidance, because that makes my pockets.
Good. Thank you very much, Tanya. Any other comments?
I might miss doing Steve talk. The individual drivers and operators could put their signage on the front door if they choose, and we won't make a fuss about it. So
We won't allow magnetics. Because we won't allow magnetic signs because they can be stopped.
No.
Yeah, safely, but
But they want to put them on, stop it.
It's up to them if they advertise or not. But
Thank you very much. Any further debate? In that case, we have a proposer for the slightly amended recommendations to remove consider comment. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Park, thank you very much indeed. Any further debate? Yeah. In that case, all those in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Nobody against, no abstentions. Thank you very much, councillors. That concludes the meeting this evening. Just like to take this opportunity to thank you for listening and taking part in the Steve. The next meeting of this committee will be held on Monday, the 19th of February 2024 at 6 o'clock. And I won't make you a Merry Christmas. I shan't. Thank you. Good evening.